Greetings, children of the screen, your friendly neighborhood nerd scum here once again. So, back in 2018, Amazon announced that they're going to be doing an animated series out of the comic book Invincible. Here recently, we got the first 3 episodes of that series, so I figured we'd take a few minutes to talk about it. Now, there will be spoilers ahead, but let's go ahead and dive on in. Invincible is an adult animated series coming from Amazon Prime, which premiered in 2021 with episodes running just about approximately 47 minutes. It is based on the Skybound Image comic of the same name created by Robert Kirkman and artist Cory Walker, with the titular character first appearing in previews as part of Savage Dragon number 102 in August of 2002. The cast is extensive and includes but is not limited to J.K. Simmons, Stephen Yeun, Zazie Beetz, Walton Goggins, Jillian Jacobs, Clancy Brown, Kevin Michael Richardson, Zachary Quinto, Mark Hamill, and Michael Dorn. Right on, guys, so with the info dump out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into this. And I do want to mention now that this is not going to be a beat-by-beat analysis of the first 3 episodes. This is just more my kind of general thoughts after binge-watching the first 3. So, general thoughts are, show was pretty solid all in all. Like with some of the other comic book adaptations we've seen coming out of Amazon, I think they do a really nice job of balancing the source material with something that's a little bit more fun. A prime example of this would be something like The Boys, where it is not a beat-for-beat adaptation of The Boys, but actually kind of removes a lot of the more kind of mean-spirited aspects of The Boys, maintaining the core of what that book is, but making the rest of the show a little bit more fun and a little bit more engaging than the book might be. Invincible is no different. So, in our first episode, we start off with an attack on the White House after getting this scene that seems almost superfluous between two security guards, where one of them is talking about his stepson and his relationship with them. But as the theme of father-son relationships is so important in this series, it actually does set up that theme really nicely, and those characters, or at least that one character, the dad character, does end up coming back later on. And then we jump into our first action sequence, which is all in all pretty dope. It gives you a pretty good idea of the kind of level of action and the animation that's going to be used for that action. Which kind of brings me to my first thing about the show that I actually enjoyed more than I thought, which is the animation in general. Yeah, the character designs are pretty simple, they're very kind of Saturday morning cartoon, but if I'm being completely honest, there are aspects of this animation that I like better than the artwork from the original book. The artwork in the original book had some places where the body types were much more detailed, but if I'm being completely honest, in the original book, the faces were very inconsistent and sometimes just hard to look at, where I was just like, what the fuck, am I looking at a fucking Picasso right now? Is that supposed to be a nose? That's supposed to be a nose, isn't it? But yeah, in this, the character models are very consistent. They're also very distinct in of themselves, so you never have a problem recognizing who is who. And as I said, the kind of animation that they do works really well for the action sequences they have. So once we're out of that first scene there, then we finally meet Mark, our main character, and we meet him much in the same way we do in the comic, where he's sitting on the toilet reading his comic books. By the way, guys, don't read your comic books on the toilet. There's a lot of different chemical things going on in the bathroom. It's not a good place for your comics. That's magazine territory. Cell phones maybe, if you're one of those folks. I don't want to talk about the bathroom anymore. Let's move on. So yeah, we meet Mark, we meet his mom, which in my opinion is also a vast improvement over the comic book. What they do in the comic book with that character is definitely interesting in its own right, but I like the fact that in this version she's a lot less broken, and she's a lot more of a more developed character. She has a job, she has a life outside of her family life. She's basically not just the servant of Mark's dad, who we also meet pretty early on, and we find out that the whole family, it's kind of open that Mark's dad is a superhero called Omni-Man. But Mark is 17 years old, and he has not yet gotten his powers, which is something that his dad is really disappointed about. So then we see Mark going to school, and there we start to meet some of our other supporting characters for the show, specifically Mark's group of friends. Well, really, he only has one friend, William, who is different than he is in the comic book, but, and then we also meet Amber, the love interest, I believe that's her name, and she's also very different than in the comic. Both these characters definitely seem to be more likable and more fleshed out than they are in the comic book. We also see the interaction that happens in the book between Mark and the bully, but it actually comes from a place of he's hitting on Amber, and Mark tries to step in, kind of setting up earlier on Mark's true desire to like be a hero and, be heroic, beyond the fact that he just kind of likes this girl and kind of wants to impress her. Now I will say there is one major change for William, but they basically made William basically the gay best friend character. And while he is more developed and has more of a personality than the character in the book, that aspect of him seems a little bit hollow. Maybe he'll get fleshed out a little bit more in later episodes. But the reason why I actually this kind of like made me go, ugh, was because in the comic there's a line where William basically convinces Mark to take him flying. And during it, they're like, this is so gay. And I kind of felt like that making that change was almost just a pushback to that one line, where because Kirkman, who created this, is like a producer on the show, I feel like that's him trying to be like, I'm not homophobic. I am not homophobic. But all in all, it doesn't actually bother me in the show, and I do actually like this version of the character better. I think that the interactions are better, and overall it works better. Same thing can be said for, the love interest character. But at the end of their day at school, William wants Mark to go and hang out with him, but he's got a job at a burger place. And that night at the burger place, as he's taking out the trash, he goes to throw one of the bags in the trash, and it just like way out of there, showing that his powers have, kicked in. So, he goes home, he's very excited, he tells his parents. The next day, him and his dad start training, and in short order after that, we begin to see Mark starting to kind of actively try to fight crime, trying to stop a bank robbery, which leads to his dad taking him to get his suit, where we get Mark Hamill playing the guy who makes the super suits in like some pretty fun little scenes. So yeah, like all of that is pretty standard superhero fare, and right now we're about to come up on like the one major spoiler for this video. So again, if you haven't watched the show, definitely go check that out. So yeah, the first like 30 something minutes of this episode play out in a pretty standard kind of superhero fare way, and then we get the title card like way late into the episode once Mark decides what his superhero name is going to be. And then after that, we cut to the reveal that Omni-Man is actually an undercover villain. And we just get an extended sequence of him dismantling this universe's interpretation of the Justice League, which are called the Guardians of the Globe. And it's played out very different than in the comic, but I think that it works really well for the show. It's very, very dramatic, and it definitely shows you some of the places that the show will be going later on. And we kind of conclude our first episode with, him taking out the Guardians of the Globe, but getting pretty hurt himself and having to go into, like, the hospital, which, again, is a pretty big change. Because as we're in our second episode, what we find is that, kind of instead of going through a lot of the stuff that they do in the book, which wouldn't really flow very well in terms of pacing or drama in a show, by having Omni-Man be in this coma, it pushes Mark into trying to be a hero faster and sooner and having to do more things on his own and really become his own character earlier on. Which is really, really cool. We get to see Mark team up with, the kind of Teen Titans allegory team, where he meets, like, his second potential love interest, but she already has a boyfriend, and it's a really complicated thing, and they fight a big alien invasion. It's really freaking cool. And over the course of the next two episodes, we get to see, the team dynamics and, like, the relationships forming between Mark and this other group of young heroes. We get to learn about, like, this global defense, group that is kind of, like, working with all the heroes of this world and kind of has put together the Guardians of the Globe and things of that nature, and kind of see how they work, with a great character that is voiced by Walton Goggins, apologies, which is just so much fun. He plays kind of the Nick Fury archetype. And then basically, since the Guardians of the Globe have been dismantled, like, they're trying to keep that from the people, but they kind of eventually have to come clean on that, and they get this robot character who leads the Teen Titans-esque type team to kind of put together a new group of global Guardians, Guardians of the Globe. And basically, we just get introduced to, like, a bunch of characters that are in the comic, but they're handled in very different and very interesting ways, with the exception of having, like, Monster Girl, who's like this cute little girl who then turns into crazy monsters. and she just trouses one of the characters out of the Teen Titans group, which is really fun because he's a total jerk, which is only confirmed whenever his girlfriend, who is the superhero character that Mark is kind of interested in, walks in on him having basically like Dr. Manhattan style group sex with another girl from that team who can multiply herself. And it's one of my favorite moments actually in the show where like she goes to Mark's house to talk to him, because you also kind of get the impression that she's kind of into him also. But whenever she gets there is like his first date with Amber, and it's really heartbreakingly sweet because you see how hurt she is because she does like him, but then before she flies away she just kind of looks and goes, good for you, Mark. And it's like just such a sweet yet heartbreaking moment, and it's something that like the comic book tries to have those moments a lot, but I feel like every time the show tries to do it, because of the way that they've balanced things out, it tends to work a lot better. And this is after, like, that's like I said, they're trying to put back together the Guardians of the Globe, and basically neither Mark or this other girl who is called Adam Eve. Eve doesn't want to join that group because her boyfriend cheated on her, and he is on that group. So then later on, like the global defense people basically call in Mark and Eve to go fight some other villain who's a seismic-based villain who's attacking Mount Rushmore. The one disappointment I had in this is that in the comic book, there's a lot of indication that one of the original members of the Guardians of the Globe, named Immortal Man, was Abraham Lincoln. And in this scene where they're at Mount Rushmore, like the seismic-based villain tries to like pull down Abraham Lincoln's head, and I feel like if we had had that indication about the other character, then that moment would have been really interesting and fun to a certain degree, or even like we could have even just had Mark comment on it. It's a missed opportunity for sure, but it doesn't hurt the overall show. But yeah, so like Mark and her basically not only have like a friendship and a superhero rapport, but they have really good chemistry. So yeah, and Mark had to leave his first date with Amber to go do that. He returns to it, starts making out with her. That's when this chick shows up. So yeah, we also get the great scene from the comic where like his dad's off doing something else, so Mark has to go up and fight this guy who's basically there to assess whether Earth's champion is ready or not to like take on a threat against the planet. And Mark's like fighting him, and we get the great moment of like Mark just being like, wait, why are you even here? And he finds out that like this guy is at the wrong planet. Like he's not supposed to be at Earth, he's supposed to be at like Uroth or something like that. So yeah, it's really fun and really great. So yeah, as I said, guys, I'm not going to go through like an entire analysis of it and break it down completely. Leave it be at that I very much enjoyed the show. I think it was very, very well done. They have a great voice cast. The animation works perfectly for what they're trying to do. I love how they were able to keep all these key moments from the book that kind of give it its heart, while removing some of the things that kind of just seem like Kirkman not knowing what to do, or Kirkman doing Kirkman things, which like works really well in the book and I really enjoy them, but in a show it's not the same thing as a book, and you got to find better ways to balance that, and this show does it absolutely great. As I said, there are only 3 episodes of this show out. There's supposed to be 8 episodes, and I believe it's going to be like The Boys, where we're going to be getting a new episode each week, so I will definitely be looking at those, and if this video does well enough, I will do a follow-up for it. But, children of the screen, did y'all watch this show? Have you read the book? Let me know down in the comments below. Did you like the show better or the book better? Or, like me, do you like them both kinda equally, but think that they're such different things, working in different mediums, that, like, they have to be their own unique beasts, and that you're glad that they did that? Let me know right down there. And if you like this video, please leave a like and share it with some friends. Also, if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to subscribe so you can check out all the dope content I'll be having coming out here in the future. Thank you very much, children of the screen. Hope you have a good one. Nerds come out.